It was a bright morning on the east coast of the United States. Eagle Star Flight 347, a domestic flight from New York to Los Angeles, was ready for takeoff. The passengers boarded calmly: families, business travelers, students, and a few elderly couples. Everything about the flight seemed routine, but no one knew that within hours, this journey would turn into a story of fear, courage, and survival. The flight took off on schedule. Captain Richard Moore and his co-pilot, Elena Harris, were experienced pilots with thousands of flight hours. Weather reports warned of a growing storm system over the Appalachian Mountains, but it didn't appear dangerous enough to cancel the flight. As the aircraft climbed higher, the sky began to darken. Lightning flashed in the distance, and turbulence slowly increased. The passengers started fastening their seatbelts again as the seatbelt sign blinked on. An hour later, the storm hit harder than anyone expected. Rain pounded against the fuselage, and the aircraft shook violently. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the cabin. One of the left engines had failed. The captain's voice came over the intercom, calm but serious. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've experienced a minor technical issue. Please remain seated and keep your seatbelts fastened." Inside the cockpit, alarms were flashing. The crew tried restarting the engine, but the system wouldn't respond. They decided to divert the flight toward Knoxville, Tennessee for an emergency landing. Through sheets of rain and lightning, the crew searched for a clearing. At the last moment, Moore spotted an open patch surrounded by forest. "Hold on," he shouted. The aircraft's tail clipped several trees before it hit the ground hard. The sound was deafening, metal bending, glass shattering, and screams filling the night. The plane skidded through mud and came to a stop, half buried in the forest. Silence followed the chaos. Then came cries for help. The cabin was filled with smoke and debris. Flight attendants quickly began helping passengers out of the wreckage. Despite the damage, more than half of the passengers survived the crash. Some were trapped but conscious, while others were injured and disoriented. Using emergency lights and flashlights, the crew led survivors to a safer area near the wreckage. It took rescue teams over 3 hours to locate the crash site due to the storm and rough terrain. When rescue helicopters finally arrived, they found passengers huddled together under torn pieces of the fuselage, sharing blankets and raincoats to stay warm. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, launched a full investigation. They found that the engine failure was caused by a rare mechanical fault, worsened by severe weather and communication breakdowns. The incident led to new safety protocols for emergency communication, flight maintenance checks, and pilot training across the U.S. Families of the victims were given honors, and survivors became symbols of courage and endurance. Captain Moore and his crew were praised for preventing what could have been a total disaster. The crash of Eagle Star Flight 347 became a reminder to the aviation world that even in an age of technology, nature still holds ultimate power, and human courage can turn tragedy into survival. "In the darkest moments," Captain Moore later said, "we didn't fly with engines. We flew with hope."